Would you date an opposite sex version of yourself? Why and why not? Absolutely. Assuming there's any physical attraction, we enjoy the same things, have similar standards, care about the same people, it'd be a good match. Are all of my traits awesome for dating? No, but I of all people can understand them and where she'd be coming from, and no one is more used to living with me and the consequences of that than I am. It's a good deal, I think. At worst, we both learn a lot about ourselves and we grow as people. I think it'd work out, but if it didn't, well, it was fun trying. I actually did, for a while, date a girl that was like my mirror copy. Not physically, but personality, worldview, attitude, opinions. Met at college. Hit it off amazingly, had so much in common, literally completing each other's sentences from get-go. Living the dream. But over the years, it ruined our relationship. It was an echo chamber. If there ever was a situation I couldn't handle, she couldn't either, and it would blow up. I couldn't appreciate the good in her because I was used to it in myself. Went our separate ways shortly after college. I still remember our time together fondly, but unless you both are the perfect human being, that kind of relationship doesn't work. In terms of personality, we'd do great together. Finally, someone who understands what I mean when I say spend time alone together. Ideally she'd be as into building random it as I am. Not to mention doing hallucinogens with myself would be pretty fun. Now, the problem would be that I'm a pretty shallow person. I'm not bad looking, so hopefully she wouldn't be either, but it's possible she may decide that I'm not hot enough. Or maybe she'll look just like me, and even if I'm not a bad looking dude, I'd make an ugly woman. Nope. We'd technically be brother/sister, plus we'd have exactly the same background/history, with exactly the same thoughts, etc. That sounds incredibly boring. The fact that my wife is her own person, with unique perspectives, is a big part of why I like her so much. Pros. According to apps, the game version of me is attractive. The sex would be wild, since I'm assuming we both want similar things. I'd always have someone to play games with, and we'd be fairly evenly matched in most things. My wife hates dogs. Female clone of me would have all the GSP, foxhounds, and blue tick coonhounds you can imagine running around in a pack. Our dream house would be our dream house, not both of us compromising, and both left wanting. I have good genes and general naturally athletic build. Naturally smart. No cavities until my alcohol stage at college. Just in general very lucky with my body and brain with no effort to maintain, and siblings are the same. I'd have to imagine that would carry forward into kids. We'd be amazing at saving money. I saved up 20k over a couple years at $10 an hour, which equates to spending almost nothing. A diet of meatballs wrapped in tortillas is astonishingly cheap. Cons. We'd both share memes with each other all day and both be really disappointed that the only response we get is seen that one already. Not shy, but fairly shy at times. With neither of us forcing it, we'd end up staying in at home and never doing anything. I'm a female. Certainly yes. It's good to share same interests, same moral and same weak sides. He wouldn't be annoyed because of things I do, and I wouldn't be mad at him. He wouldn't assume me to do thing I hate and vice versa. He'd always look good, never smoke or get drunk as a king pig. Yes. The perfect boyfriend for me is me, but in male body. I mean, as long as we're not actually twins, or clones or anything. Not interested in incest. But a woman who's basically me in terms of personality, likes, life goals, then hell yeah. Honestly, a big deterrent to me dating anybody is the fact that I'm planning on moving to another country in 2 years. Being with someone equally as passionate about that move and overcoming the language hurdles together would be awesome. I'd prefer if they had slightly different career goals though. Researching the exact same thing would likely get to be bothersome. No. My opposite sex version of me would be really fun to hang out with, but not stable enough for a long-term thing. I need someone to counterbalance my personal deficiencies. Someone who has their it together and acts responsible and cares about their career, stuff like that. Dating the opposite sex version of me would result in feeding each other's negative characteristics until we end up blasted out of our minds in Vegas gambling away every cent we have. Me and my SO are very different and have different interests and ideas about how to spend time. Sometimes that causes conflict, but it's a manageable kind of conflict, and I deeply value the more important ways in which she is different than me. Wow, absolutely. In fact, it's the majority of the actionable/practical advice I get from people who have honest relationship advice for me. They say that I should get with a depressed person with Crohn's disease who has severe social anxiety and is aromantic and wants a best friend for life, is self-sacrificing and interested in giving pleasure, is able to take care of themselves, and works on themselves every day. But then they go into nonsense about how the man is the provider and has to have a job and a car and an education and enjoy life, while the woman has absolutely no such responsibilities, and I call BS. And then I begin to wish deeply that the female version of me would exist so that I can stop being miserable alone, and we would build intelligent robot people together and rule the world. People can be so deluded that it makes me want to throw up and declare myself as a different species. My last girlfriend and I were so similar that we joked that we were the same person from alternate universes. I've never had a relationship feel so easy from the outset, never clicked with anyone sexually so quickly, never missed anyone more. When the relationship ended, that was a year ago, almost to the day in fact. She and I are still friends. In short, yes I would, because it was amazing. God no. No way. IMHO, my relationship with my fiance is strong because of our shared interests and our differences. The ways in which we differ is what keeps us from falling into harmful ruts and patterns. The opposite sex version of me would have the same interests and goals, sure, but they'd have severe anxiety and be prone to unhealthy levels of avoidance and antisocial behavior. They'd have oodles of family trauma, mediocre financial standing, and be vulnerable to manipulative people. Also, two people with insomnia sharing the same bed would be a nightmare. We'd constantly be waking each other up. We'd probably end up being mean as fuck to each other too, because we'd see the worst of ourselves in each other. No, I think I'd pass. I wouldn't. Being engaged to a woman different from me in many ways has been a blessing. My weaknesses area her strengths and vice versa. We make a very well-rounded team. If I dated a gender-bent version of myself, there would be no variety. We would have incredibly large weaknesses, and we'd probably get competitive over what we are good at to see who's better. It just wouldn't work. I think what people here are thinking about is likes and dislikes, but what you realize is that those are fluid and are not constant. The things that matter in a relationship are who you are and what makes you unique. Your uniqueness should fill in the gaps in your spouse's personality so that you become the ultimate power couple. Yes, because if the female version of me is anything like me, she'll be willing to bang the male version of herself due to lack of self-confidence, so that makes dating my female self the most viable means of getting laid, which doesn't require increasing my confidence. Note, I'm working on improving my confidence through self-actualization, but banging female me is still on the table. I already am. When I met my SO, it took us like an hour to realize that we are 98% the same person. Our biggest difference in our gender and race, which can really impact how we move through our society. It's both wonderful and terrifying because we almost always understand the other's POV without needing to discuss things. Our only arguments to date have been when one of us was attempting to take care of the other but there was a miscommunication. I know my SO is my soulmate, which isn't a term I really had much belief in before we met, but I also know that even soulmates have to work on their problems and have strong communication skills. If this relationship doesn't work out, I'll probably never really date again, because I rarely did before. I'm a workaholic, and I prefer putting all of my energy into my career, lol. Probably. I'm a bit of a switch, and I'm assuming that makes her the same, which would be very nice. However, the amount of dad jokes flying both ways would be sanity stealing at best, and she would know just how to get under my skin. On the bright side though, she'd have a good work ethic, not have to diet to stay slim, and have similar desires. But then the question arises, do we have the same face? Because if so, then it's a hard nope. I dated probably the closest I've ever come to the opposite sex version of myself, and I figured that's what it would take to for the ultimate companion, someone just like me. I had never met a more perfect woman in my eyes, but I wasn't right and lost her. I have never felt a hurt so bad and never wanted to right a wrong so much. She literally made me feel like I could conquer the world with her by my side and would do anything to make her happy. This girl could have told me to start a cult of worshippers in her honor, and I would have done so. Funny thing is, I told her that I wished for her long before I met her. She probably thought I was just saying something, but I was dead ass serious. In my teenage years I read somewhere that I should write my ideal wife down on a piece of paper and sleep with it under my pillow, and I did. It was some 20 years later I got what I asked for, everything on the list from height to skin tone, shoe size. She was my perfect imperfection. I would give anything in the world to have her back. I don't think I could ever date someone like that again. You don't get perfect twice. Not the sexiest answer, but honest nonetheless.